Lord has given me a word for you. Whatever you're going through, yeah, God gave me this word for you. Everything will be alright. When you're going through, just remember this word. Everything will be alright. Now listen, everybody clap your hands out now this evening. Listen, I want y'all to help me sing. Say, everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. Say, everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. Everybody say, yeah. Say, everything will be alright. God told me it will. Everything will be alright. Yeah. Let me hear y'all sing it. Say everything. Say. You can only sing it like that if you believe it. Open up your mouth and help me sing, yeah. Yeah. Come on, y'all, let's move. Everything, say. Everything will be alright. Turn the background up. Everything, yeah. Everything will be alright. I know it will. Everything will be alright. Don't worry about a thing, no. Oh, yeah. Everything will be alright. You can't fix it yourself, no way. So listen. Don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. Everything will. Everything will be alright. Don't stress about it. Oh, don't worry about it. Everything will be. Say it again, say. Don't stress about it. Oh, don't worry about it. Everything will be alright. Don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. Oh, everything will be. Bang, let's go. Yeah. Break it down, help me sing. Everybody sing, alright. 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 I know it will be. Alright. I know it will be. Alright. Yes, it will. Alright. Yes, it will, yeah. Alright. We will make it. Alright. Yes, it will. Alright. Yes, it will. Alright. Yes, it will. Alright. I know. Alright. Everybody clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. I know it will. Say, everything is gonna be alright. Say, everything is gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Say, everything is gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright.
About, man. of people, they know your music, they hear your music. Some of them know a little bit of what you're capable of, but not really all. And but a lot of them don't really know your history, man. You know, the family, pops, you know, your upbringing, the conventions, the schools you went to. And,
Hey man, listen, it's a great thing, man, just to be alive in this time, you know.
mhm.
And I thank God for Jesus, man, and I thank God for music.
Amen.
Music has definitely been a sustainer in this time, you know. So I can't complain, man. I'm good.
When did it all begin for you, man?
Birth.
Yeah, you came out playing. Did you come out playing drums?
Well,
Did you come out trying to play keys? Did you?
well, I was, you know, anybody that really know anything about me know, I'm a drummer first.
That's
You
right.
know, that's my first love. You know, drums is everything to me. I started playing drums when I was a little tight, when I was, 2.5, 3 years old. That's when I first got on the kit. Um, and it's been love at first sight ever since. But I got to credit, of course, God gets all the glory. But my dad, he's the reason for all of this. From and not just me, my other two brothers, and pretty much anybody that was connected to him. You know, he's the one. From not only the fact that he was and still is a great musician, a great innovator when it comes to music and musicality. Uh, Hubert Powell, he don't get the credit in my book. He don't get the credit that he should, but he's pioneered a lot of musicians to this day. And if it wasn't for him doing what he calls this the headphone treatment, from birth, from when we were little, infants, he would put headphones on us at night, and we would go to sleep listening to George Duke and Parliament and Chick Corea, Herbie, anything that was popular, Yellow Jackets,
Mhm.
Jeff Lorber. I mean, I can keep going.
Wow.
This along with the church music, along with the gospel music, but those were the things that pricked my heart early on, and I didn't understand why I had such a love for all this other stuff. But it was when I got a little older, I realized I've been listening to this before I can even understand, So, he gets all the credit, man. And then just being around him, I tell people all the time, the biggest teacher is influence. Some people don't get that and understand it. I can show you can show people your licks all day long. You could, but that's not gonna, catapult them into the greatness that they can, achieve. That's not gonna make them a better musician. Just knowing your licks, that don't mean nothing. Or knowing your runs or chords, or but the influence of a great man, the influence of an innovator, the influence of someone who's unique and original in their approach to whatever it is that you're trying to become or obtain. Influence, just being around my dad and watching him. That's how I learned how to work the studio, watching my father, watching him in the studio, just sitting there, not saying nothing, just being around him while he was doing it, and then it rubbed off. Being in church with him while he teach the choir, while he, you know what I'm saying, while he was on the organ. And, you know, and then actually playing with him and him getting on me, you know, tough love from an early kid,
Yeah.
you know. We don't a lot of people don't get that stuff these days, you know, but I thank God and I appreciate it, man, you know, that helped get me to the place, you know, where I am mentally and mentally and spiritually, man, you know, with my music. So he gets all of it.
That's awesome, man. What were you, I know he was playing in church, but did you get to witness and experience your dad maybe playing in any other jazz settings as a young kid?
I did a few times, not much. But I used to go to some of his rehearsals. He used to be in a band, a funk band called Wood, Brass, and Steel. A lot of their music has been sampled throughout the, you know, the hip hop and you know, a lot of their music has been sampled. And you probably heard a song and didn't even realize it was them. But yeah, he was in a funk band called Wood, Brass, and Steel, and with Doug Wimbush. Doug Wimbush is like
Wow.
one of the coldest cats to this day on
Mm-hmm.
bass,
Mm-hmm.
and a few others, Skip McDonald and Harold Sargent, my big unks, and some other cats that was in the group. But I used to go to some of their rehearsals and witness that. But being around him more, so listening to the records that they did, you know, before he got back into the church, and then, but he brought that same energy and that same mindset into the church. And you know, it's difficult sometimes when you're very original and unique in your delivery and approach to what you do. It don't always grab everybody because it's different,
That's right.
you know. So what he was doing, which is what some people are trying to do now, he was already doing it. People like him and Nat Townsley, rest in peace, Nat Townsley,
Right.
and you know, so many other people who were innovators in their approach to music. My dad was right up there at the top of the list, you know, but those people don't never get the recognition that they should for what they're bringing to the table, because you know, a lot of people don't get it right away,
That's
and
right.
sometimes it's too late, you know. But you know, he was doing all this stuff he's doing, all this stuff, well, I should say all this stuff that I'm doing and like my brothers are doing, we watched him do years ago. You know, he was already on that other planet. You
Right.
know, we was just trying to catch up.
Yeah, it was a lot of them cats back then, even all the cats from King's Temple, right? The Cummins,
Mm-hmm.
the Meeks, Willard, and Junior. Yeah, all of them, man. Me and Arcel talk about that all the time. You know,
Yep.
man, you listening to them records. How many records did your dad put out of his own? And
Let's
what
see.
were they?
Well, he had back in the 80s, he had a group that he started with my mom and his sister, and it was kind of a family group, but he had a few other people outside of the family in the group as well. And it's called Gospel Truth. And they put out one record as a group, but they were singing all the time, singing everywhere. And then years later, he tapped back into his jazz roots and into his, you know, he tapped back into that and he started doing something. And, you know, I don't want to start no trouble, but he definitely pioneered the gospel jazz movement. There was a movement back in the late 80s,
I heard that.
Early 90s, and it was coined gospel jazz because it was instrumental. But my dad was doing that years ago. And, you know, Ben Tankard hooked up with my pops and kind of, you know, gleaned from him. But Ben Tankard kind of actually kind of made it
A business.
a thing. He got signed, you
Mm-hmm.
know, for everybody else, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, but you know, my dad had been doing that, you know, but then them two became the kind of the front runner for that movement, for the jazz movement. There was a few other people, like I want to say, I think Allen and Allen, they was in that class. They were a gospel jazz duo. And there was some other people, but you know, my dad and then Ben Taker, they were like the guys that pioneered that movement. But he put out about, I want to say about 4 or 5, maybe 6 records within that span of time,
Mm-hmm.
from the late 80s, early mid 90s.
What was one of the ones
Um,
that stands out the most for you? That really, really was like,
well,
wow.
they all stand out because I was the fly on the wall with all of them, you know. But the one that's the closest to my heart was the one that he actually let me co-produce with him, which was called "Keep Pressing On," and that was like my first record that I actually ever produced or was even a part of with the title producer or co-producer. And you know, my dad gave me that shot, you know, and I'll never forget that, you know, because that was a big record. You know, he got nominated for Stellar, a couple Stellars.
Mm-hmm. I definitely want to give a listen to that. Let's check that out. who was your pops influenced by? You told me some of the people that he had you listening to, you know, Jeff Lorber and Joe Sample and Chick Corea and those guys.
Hmm.
But who was he listening to? Was it, I mean, Joe Sample might have been one, but Jeff Lorber maybe not so much when he was growing up.
Well, I would say when my dad was coming up, I know he was a really big fan of Billy Preston.
Mm,
Billy Preston was somebody he looked at, you know, as that guy when he was coming up.
yeah.
Which is, you know, my dad was predominantly an organ player. That was like his thing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so quite naturally, somebody like Billy Preston, who predominantly played organ, even though he played everything, you know,
Mm-hmm.
piano and stuff, but organ was, you know, where he kind of really made his name. Um, my dad was listening to him, and then when he got older, he started traveling with jazz organist Groove Holmes, and
I
that
didn't
was
know that.
another person he looked up to.
Wow.
And Groove Holmes is still, you know, in my book at the top of that jazz organ list. Even people like Joey DeFrancisco, he
Mm-hmm.
swears by Groove Holmes. And you know, if you listen to Joey,
Oh yeah.
you already understand, you know. So yeah, those were some of his early ons, and then, you know, he got into, you know, listening to. My dad is the reason why I love George Duke,
Yeah.
because he loved George Duke.
Yeah.
And you know, George Duke, I tell people all the time, my two biggest influences musically in my life is my dad, of course, and George Duke.
Mm-hmm.
I've gained knowledge from all, but George was one of the ones that really pricked my heart, and you know, just everything he brought to the table, man, was just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
His approach, you know, his approach to chord changes, and his his approach to you know, just his mindset on his way of thinking musically was just, you know, mind-boggling to me. And another influence that I gained from my dad was this Japanese artist. A lot of people don't really know this guy, but his name is Yutaka.
Utaka.
Yeah, Yutaka is he's another one of my big influences musically. When I heard of Yutaka when I was like 14 years old, and I didn't. It was so phenomenal to me. I didn't understand what I was listening to, but I know as I had to have this record, so I saved up money to go get my own record, because my dad had one, but he would never let me. You know, he wouldn't let me, you know, hold it. So I had to go get my own, man.
Yeah.
That record, to this day, I listen to this record and it's like it just came out. What he was listening to is what I wanted to listen to. You know, I was the awkward kid going to school with a Walkman listening to Donald Fagen and Steely Dan, and
Right.
kids clowning me on the bus because they like, man, what is Hubert listening to? What is that? He not listening to the Fat Boys and
Right.
LL Cool J. I was like, this is what I want to listen to in the morning on my way to school. I want to
Right.
listen to good music, you know. So I was weird like that, you know. But hey, I thank God for the weirdness.
Yeah. But yeah. What made you? Because man, the drums were like, it was like a fury when you played, man. Like the pocket was insane. The passion was ridiculous. It had to be a lot to put them sticks down for the ivory.
Well, you know, throughout the years, man, just being around the whole body of music, just being around the whole creation of music, you start to develop a mind of creativity. And if you're not a real musician if you don't understand everybody else. If you don't understand everybody else's part in the band or on the record, or you know what I'm saying, then you're not really applying yourself as a real professional musician. Because as a drummer, I need to understand the bass. I need to understand the guitar. I need to understand the keyboards, or you know, whatever the band consists of. I need to understand. I may not need to be able to play them all, but I need to be able to understand the significance of that instrument or that part of this union musically to make my part even that much more better. So, you know, as early on, I had an understanding of that, which allowed me to be able to understand, like in my mind, I'm like the dopest bass player you'll ever want to hear. Like in my mind, I can't put it on the actual acts, but in my mind, I'm killing everybody. I'm killing everybody in my mind. You know,
I hear so many keyboard players say that, man. So many good ones like you, man. They love bass. Like, why don't y'all just be bass players?
If I really had the time to sit and practice, I would. Like, I really would love to actually be able to do it myself. And I know so many other cats that have that luxury. Like my bro Mike Burrell, he's a double, you know, triple threat. He play all the instruments, you know. So there's so many other cats I know that do that.
So when you started doing records, live records, some of the gospel records, what was that like for you? Because that started on drums for you, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't do a whole bunch of records, especially national. I did a few records that was, you know, big, but and then a lot of local stuff.
But dude, you ended up on a record, and what's amazing about that, I guess it's kind of like it's not how much you say, it's what you say when you have the opportunity to say it. Because you just said it, you weren't on a lot of national records, but you did a couple. But you did one in particular that was like a bunch of sick, crazy producers that got together on an album that normally probably wouldn't work out right. The album would be either everybody scared to step on each other's toes or everybody overplaying way too much. That Everlasting Life record changed. Yo, there's moments and I'm telling you, man, and you notice there are moments in the history of gospel music where everything shifts. Oh, we could do that now. Oh, we could do that. So we had, even before, you know, Thomas Dorsey. Oh, we could do that. Mahalia Jackson. I mean, James Cleveland. Oh, we could do that now. Andre Crouch. Oh, what's happening here? Then the Hawkins come. Oh, wait. Now we could. Oh, you know, the Clark sisters. I mean, then the Winans. You know, it was things like wait. I mean things that make the whole ocean shift and go this way.
Thomas Whitfield.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes,
I mean, every live stream I do, that man's name comes up because Detroit was beasting. My goodness. Detroit was beasting. And Tommy was he was responsible for so many people, you know. We feeling like, okay, we got a grasp on what's going on with gospel, and everybody's gunning for this, gunning for that, and you know, the bars were raised super high by a lot of those artists that we mentioned. Then comes along Kim Burrell. It was either a second or third with that Everlasting Life, because I know she had a couple of records before then, but that Everlasting Life record, game changer, man. So it was clear to me, listening to you playing on that record, that I mean, y'all were all just, that was an amazing chemistry from her onto the selection of each and everybody was producing on their station, producing on their instrument. That's what it sounded like.
Now you just brought it back to what I was saying a minute ago, that my mind was set up early on to be able to understand my surroundings. You know what I'm saying? So that's why that worked, because everybody that was a part of that were great, even on other instruments, you know, not even just on the instruments that they actually played. You know, Johnny DeBose, he played guitar, but he played bass. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Joel Smith, drums and bass. Who else was on there? Chris Collier, he played sax, but he could play keys. You know, so it was so many different dynamics. Alex, he plays drums, bass, and, you know, and keys, and, you know, so it was so many multifaceted dynamics, and everybody wanted to be the best at their part, not so much the best. You know, we wasn't trying to stand out and be heard individually. You know, we knew once we started, it was like the first song, we all knew, like, okay, we got to really make this. Like, we can't play with this, because this is, after the first song, it was just like, oh my God, this is not too much, but it was just like, wow, like, this is really happening, because this, up until that point, there was really nothing like that.
Like, this is what I'm saying. Was that the
musically?
I'll Keep Holding On? Was that the first one that y'all cut, that you on?
Well, that was first on the record, but the first song I actually cut for that record was Prodigal Son. That was the first song, first day in the studio. I was there for over a week. And the first day in the studio, I cut Prodigal Son, because that was the only song that I actually had to practice to. All the other songs I cut on the fly. I just learned it and cut it. But that song was the only song that was actually given to me to learn beforehand. So I cut that song first, and I had to. Kim even gave me props, and I was like, wow, I didn't really even think about that, but man, I cut that song. I was so hyped to do that record. I cut that song in one take.
Really?
And one take, and Alex and they was like, Alex being a producer, he just made me cut it again, but they still used the first take. You know, so that it was just a moment, like, all of us knew we had to seal this moment, man, because this was a great moment in time musically. And then it shouldn't have been no other way for the type of singer Kim is. Like, it didn't need to be any less.
That's right.
Or more than what it was.
It couldn't be. It really couldn't be. You're right. I want to play the reprise. The Prodigal Son is the whole song is killing. That reprise, man, you just took out the water hose and wet everybody up on that with the whole song is killing, and the record we're talking about, I'm sure everybody knows. If you don't, it's Kim Burrell, Everlasting Life. This is the man that we're talking to right now, on drums, killing this. Check it out.
So long, I know I was wrong. I'm coming home. Don't leave me out in the So sing no.
It's
Man,
the
thank Alex for sneaking that on, because the label actually tried to get that taken off the record.
wow.
They
That's
tried to get
another.
the, because
That's
it was
another.
all one song. It was a
Yeah.
whole, it wasn't the Enterprise. I mean, the reprise only came because the label didn't want that part of the song, so he snuck it in mastering. He just faded that part, in. That's why it's like another, a
Yeah.
reprise part,
Yeah.
because it was all one song. You know, it all went
Wow.
together. It wasn't there wasn't a break. So he snuck that in. He snuck that in there. So
I was like, who does that? Who does a roll around the drums off the ride cymbal? Like, most people don't even have that kind of control. That was just crazy, man. It just showed that your ears are absolutely insane. And the way man, all of you, man, and this was such a classic record, man. And yeah, here's another one.
yeah.
I keep holding on. Ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. I keep holding on. Gotta keep holding on, holding on, holding on. Time is filled with swift transition. Not of earth the move can stand. Not of earth the move can stand. Build your hopes. Your hopes, something's eternal. Everybody hold to God's unchanging. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Holding on. Just keep holding on, holding, Just keep holding on. This is not a time for giving up, but it's a time for holding on. Trust in Him. Whatsoever years may bring, whatsoever your years may bring, even if your friends forsake you, still closely to Him cling. God's unchanging. Everybody hold on. Yeah, hold on. God's unchanging. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, God's unchanging. Everybody ought to hold Get a real good grip. If I were you, I would get a real good grip. And never let go, no. Never let go, no. Never let go. No. Get a real good grip. And don't let go. Hold on. God's unchanging. And hold on.
Game changer. Game changer. Absolutely
Yeah,
insane.
that was a great record. It can never be. I don't think anybody's.
Say it.
Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't
Say
say
it.
that.
Say it. Or I'm gonna say it for you. It will
It's
never.
gonna be tough. It's
It
gonna
will
be
never.
tough.
It just won't be. It just won't be. And because listen, there's just certain records, man, like I was saying, that the chemistry was perfect. And I don't know if I think it was a gamble that went well. Because most gambles like that, there are other phenomenal plenty gospel records with heavy hitters on it, you know. And they're great records. Like one of my favorite choir records of all times, man, live is East Coast Regional. You know,
Ooh, I was just listening to that the other day. Man, that record ain't even on like iTunes, man.
see?
I actually found the actual CD.
Mm-hmm.
I was cleaning out a box of CDs that I had like literally last week, and I just imported it
Mm-hmm.
into my computer because I was like, man, this was another one of those type of records.
Yep. It was.
I mean, had my big uncle on there, the late Jeff Davis.
Yep.
Killing on drums, and Dewey Browder.
Dewey Browder was murdering on bass on that record. And I
Johnny
don't.
the Ghost,
Yeah.
Joe Wilson.
Joel Wilson. Mm-hmm.
Man, that record was great.
Yeah.
Overture.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That whole record is it's just, again. So you got all of these heavy hitters that came together with it worked. It was a game changer. And so, you know, this record that you did with Kim was a game changer. And so in your playing, you can definitely hear first of all, your tuning, man, your drum tuning is superb because it cuts like crazy. And again, that comes from the headphone therapy, man. You all of those years that you hearing music and you probably don't even realize it, and you're analyzing, man, like you hear that tom, little things that stand out to you over the years. And now when it's your turn to cut records, you're subconsciously, I guess, remembering some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that record, I was trying to sound like Dave Weckl, not in the sense of my chops, but my tuning and the way my drums was cut, and I was using the same set he was using. I was using the original Maple Custom Yamaha. So I was literally channeling his sound sonically on the drums, and those drums made it easy for that to cut through like that, man. Those Yamaha drums. I was never really big on the kick on Yamaha, but it still sounded good. The kicks wasn't like powerful, but the way those drums cut, man, it was more so the drums versus the mixing that cut through. Everything was stock. The snare was Maple Custom, it was the whole thing. I was never a one cymbal brand guy, so there's a plethora of different cymbals you hear on that, because I was into just how I wanted cymbals to sound when it came to me. A lot of cats get into endorsing a cymbal, and some of them don't even really like the cymbal, but because they endorsing them, they play them.
Because they got it for 80% off or something like that. They just playing it, right?
Yeah, I ain't into that. I'd rather just play what feels good and what sounds good to me, on what it sounds like when I hit it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How it makes me feel as my sound.
Did Kim have her scratch vocals there for you to vibe to, or did you kind of have to imagine?
Honestly, not on all the songs I played. A lot of the songs I played, it was just background vocals.
Okay.
And this is another fact that people always be blown away when I say it, or when they ask about this record. because I get asked about, excuse me, about that record like it's my record. I mean, people ask me about that record all the time. I done been overseas. I done signed that record. You know, like people love that record, man. So a lot of people ask the process of that record. And honestly, the process is that none of us were really in the studio at the same time cutting that record. Like when I cut that record, I was by myself. It was just me, Alex, and sometimes Kim. She'd come in there because she was actually, the label had actually moved her to Kansas City where we cut the record.
I remember that.
So she was living in Kansas City for months, and so sometimes she'd be at the studio, and but I was there most of the time by myself and Alex and engineers or whatever. So I was like the foundation. So I was cutting to a lot, some dummy tracks, which is pretty much what we do now. It's just we don't do it in person. Now we sending tracks to people to cut, But yeah, I was in there, and then I would leave, and then Joel would come, and he would leave, and Johnny would come. Or, it wasn't like we was all. It sounded like we was all in the same room.
Yep, and that's the point of the question. That's why I asked that question, because a lot of people, I've been asked the question too, and I tell them, no, I don't know. They sent me that track, and they go, "Really? It sound like y'all were all playing together." So, how do you, as a musician, it's kind of redundant because you did answer this already, but I'm going to ask it now as more of a direct question. How do you, as a musician, do that, pull that off?
Well, you got to think like the song is being created all at that moment, and you got to think like all this goes back to what I said earlier about understanding everybody's part. So the fact that I don't hear it don't mean that I don't acknowledge that it's going to be there.
There you go.
So I may not hear a rhythm guitar on this track right now, but I know it's going to be there. So it makes me fall back into my position even more, so I don't get in the way of what's going to be. The boom and the cat got to be, you know what I'm saying? That got to be definite. If nothing else ain't definite, that got to be definite, because most of the people that's listening or trying to comprehend what you're doing don't really understand all the in-between stuff. And that's where a lot of musicians get lost in, because they're so busy trying to prove that their musicality and their capability is as vast as they know it is. But sometimes it don't matter what you know, because the people that's listening don't even understand it to begin with. So I was always taught to make sure that one is on, and the things that needed to be specific was specific, and so with my uncle and then my dad, once I started playing with him, he was a drill sergeant, boy. My dad ain't let nothing get by. He used to yell at me, and he used to be playing. I mean, at the gig, he'd be like, "Hey, stop all that, groove, play the groove." You know what I'm saying? And that was instilled in me as a kid. You know what I'm saying? That this is what's important. All that other stuff ain't important right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now me as a keyboard player, I'm kind of tough on drummers, because I know what the drummer's job is supposed to be, and I know what I should hear depending on the song. So it's not too many drummers, that I call on, because some drummers, they get around me and feel like they got something to prove.
That would be me.
You know, so, you know, but yeah, man, that was my upbringing, man. Just playing the groove, and you know, my dad was a real funk guy. He's a real funk guy. So the funk, when you playing funk, you ain't got too many choices. You got to be content with the few choices you got.
That's right.
And make that work.
That's
Because
right.
if that don't work, then the song don't work.
Right.
Or the groove don't work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, so that was one thing. And then the fact that I used to play with ankle and wrist weights, like 10-pound ankle.
Really?
And wrist weights. Like I used to play them with church in church. Because, you know, coming up, we ain't have a whole bunch of practice time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, church was church, but church was also practice.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
You know, so I'd be in church, you know, choir rehearsal or Sunday service or Tuesday night service. You know, I'd be in there playing testimony service with my ankle and wrist weights. To get my speed and my dexterity and my power to the point where I can control, you know, my velocity, and I can control when I want to be big and when I want to be, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. But I do want people to hear a little bit of some of the stuff Doobie Powell is doing today.
When I wake up in the morning like felt the strength, got to say to myself, food on my table, clothes on my back, got to say to myself, I may not have what I want, but I got what I need, got to say to myself, God's been so good to me, got to say to myself, hey. To say to myself, food on my table, clothes on my back. Got to say to myself, I may not have what I want, but I got what I need. Got to say to myself, God's been so good to me. Got to say to myself, hey. Ooh, yeah. So good. Hey. Every time I turn around, he keeps on making a way. God. Yeah. Yeah. Play B. Say, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Yes, I am. Oh, when I'm on the road, driving in my car, flying in the plane, riding on a train. Sometimes it's hard, break it day to day, but I can count on him to always make a way. Life may bring you down, but through it all, gotta tell yourself, hey.
Bro.
Boy, that was tough. That was it sounded cool, but that was tough, boy, because you couldn't hear nothing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know about that. And you playing it now. And with them headphones on, because they walking around with the meter, put the volume police.
Man. And it seemed like they was only trying to keep us quiet. Like, you don't hear all this other stuff?
Exactly. Meanwhile, you can't hear yourself because there's a drum battle down the hall. Right?
Man.
Bro, you sound like your dad on there. Yeah, man. Oh man, you sound like Pops on the keyboards on that one, man. I was like, I'm sitting there listening, man. It makes you a little emotional, you know, because it's like, look at all of that influence, look at all of that teaching, upbringing, and all of that experience. You got no choice but to play with dynamics in a situation like that, right? Like you said, you can't even hear yourself. You're hoping it sounds good. You don't even know what it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
So that's where all of that experience and training and everything comes into play, man, and all those other good things. All right, let's check them out.
I desire you. No one else will do. Passionately pursuing you. From my heart I do. Oh, I desire you. Oh, no one else will do. Yeah. Passionately pursuing you. Oh, from my heart I do. I do. When I search deep within, my soul begins to remember that you call me friend. And we have something that will never ever end. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can't let you get away. No matter what my friends may say, no, I'm in touch with my play. This is what I do day by day. I desire you. Oh, no one else will do. Passionately pursuing you. From my heart. From my heart I do. I do. Couldn't find nobody, no. No one else. Oh, no, no. Passionately from my heart. From my heart, yeah. I do. I do. I desire you. No one else will do. No, no. Passionately pursuing you. All I need is you. From can't live without you. I do. I desire you. No one else will do. Passionately pursuing you from my heart. From my heart, I do. Every second, every minute, every hour.
How's the rest of the family doing?
I need you like a wedding.
Everybody's good, man. You know, like I said, mom and pops. My mom, she's great. You know, and I got to give some credit to my mom too, man, because she's, you know, she's an awesome singer. And my pipes, my range, and the strongness in my voice, I know I get from her. And, you know, so she's doing good, man. My brothers, Billy, I call him my oldest brother, even though I'm older than him. But Billy act like he older than everybody. But Billy, man, he's great. Billy's, you know, one of the dopest drummers you ever gonna hear.
Yes, sir.
And man, I'm just honored, man, that you even considered, you know, rapping with me, man, and talking about, you know, my history and my family. I think I was talking about my brother Kevin when we got disconnected.
Yeah.
But y'all watch out for him, because Kevin is definitely the next up to bat.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't mean like he ain't already there. I'm just saying Kevin is, you know, he's taking his time, but when I tell you that boy, trust me, y'all are in good hands. what he's getting ready to
he's
already started doing.
He's a pal. He got the sickness too, so he ain't got no choice.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yes, sir.
You know.
So I'm just honored, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate it so much.
We appreciate you, man. We're all big fans. I'm not going to keep you any longer. I thank everybody for watching. You know, I'm gonna let this tune that's playing in the background play out, man. But I love you, brother, and we're gonna be doing something together soon as well. All right.
We long overdue. And I want to say this, man. You one of the few people that actually gave me a shot when I was in my drumming years.
Really?
I don't know if you remember, you called me for the Kelly Price hit.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, I never forgot that.
Way before that, man.
Nah, man, hey, you know, I don't know. Nobody wasn't calling me, but you called me. You know, and yeah. I appreciate that, man.
No doubt, man. I love you, brother. We're going to listen to this and let it play out, and I'm going to be in touch. Everybody check this out. This is a nice little tune, too. So, Peace, Love, and by the great Doobie Powell. I could keep him all night, man, and just talk to him, but, you know, we've been on an hour and a half. We're going to let this rock, and enjoy, y'all.
Turn the track up a little bit. Yeah. Yo, I gotta be honest. What I see is a little crazy right now, but I know we can turn it around. Yeah. Listen.